Hi, and welcome to Real Trail Talk. I am Donovan D'Souza from The Long Ways Better.
And I'm Mark Pybus from The Life of Pi. Welcome to episode 52. This week we're having a little bit of fun. We're going to talk about the Bibbulmun, but we're going to do a Fresh Start Bibbulmun podcast. So basically we already have mapped out where we would like it to go. And also joining us to join in the fun is Bonny from Friendly Drop Bear and Steve Sertis from a little place called the Bibbulmun Track Foundation.
Howdy.
Hello.
Yeah, so I've got guessing just because it is fun, and also because Steve knows where the track used to go, so has a lot of insight into where it could possibly go again or where you would take it.
And he can tell us off if we are like way off base.
Yeah. So we got some general rules so we don't just go all over the state and kind of wherever we want. So it kind of has to go basically Perth to Albany. Logistically it has to work, so you can't be out on the track for 20 days without a resupply. And also kind of it has to go through areas you can go through. So no mining areas.
Did you get these parameters before?
I didn't get these parameters.
Well, it has to make sense, okay?
Yeah, okay.
I've got
Wanted
some
it to go through the middle of Boddington Gold Mine.
Yeah.
Well, you can have a swim through.
Yeah, I've got some caveats on my alignment. But
Oh
anyway.
yeah, I think I do as well, but they're just very small.
Yeah, I have a few, land management needs to change in this area.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So it's probably best if you're listening to have Google Maps open so you can see where we're talking about, or even just the Bibbulmun Track maps out in front of you, because we are going to deviate a little bit and talk about areas that kind of have names that no one really knows about. So I guess we'll start at the beginning. So Perth. So who actually had the track starting in Kalamunda and who had it starting in Perth?
You said Kalamunda to me.
Yeah.
didn't
The
you?
Kalamunda area. You can take it anywhere.
I'm content with the track starting in Kalamunda.
Well, if that's the case, it can start from my house. Just kidding. Kalamunda.
Yeah, I think Kalamunda as well. It's a cool idea to start it in the middle of the city, but then there'd be a lot of not so nice walking. Like you'd have to go out through Welsh Pool industrial area or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, the whole thing is I want to increase the
It's a
quality of
bushwalk.
the track, not increase the length of the track.
You say that, but I'm starting in Perth.
Oh!
So either Kings Park or Elizabeth Quay, and have it go along the river and follow the river for quite a while. So like what the Pilgrim Trail does.
Yeah, that could be kind of cool.
And I mapped it out, and there is like a green section that you can take to where the Railway Reserve Trail loops down the bottom, and then you go into John Forest, and you could have a campsite in John Forest. So your first day would be about 20 k's, which is manageable. You're staying in a national park, and the Bibbulmun is more visible to everyone.
It's actually not the worst idea, but I think I wouldn't enjoy that first day because I hate walking on the pavement, especially carrying hiking poles.
Yeah, I kind of feel I would want to bring a second pair of shoes just for pavement walking.
You essentially walk on pavement for like 8 or 9 k's to finish.
Yeah, I hate that bit.
Yeah, me too.
Realignment.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I started in Perth. I think that's a good route. So you guys are all starting in Kalamunda. Do you then follow the bib as it goes now, or do you deviate off?
I think there's not much choice. And I actually like the way, I think it's cool how Kalamunda feels like it's right on the edge of the city. Like it's all very suburban, and then there's that, almost suddenly in the bush feeling, at least for me anyway.
Yeah, I love that moment when you get to the edge of Kalamunda National Park and you're looking down.
Yes.
I think that's really important. And I actually think, I really like most of the Darling Scarp alignment as it is. The only thing I'd say is more of it would be nice to be on single file walking trail.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That'd be my only thing there for really up until the Helena Valley. I think that's the only criticism I'd have.
I wonder, would it be possible, where it very first leaves Kalamunda, if it didn't go along the road? But I don't think that's really possible unless they moved the terminus to behind the...
Down Spring Road.
Yeah.
Or
But then-
compulsorily acquire all the land. That won't fly.
But I think maybe if they had the northern terminus, quite explain where exactly, but it's sort of behind the visitor centre. I don't know if it's Spring Road, but
I guess
except it wouldn't be visible from the town. But it is weird how it's opposite Coles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think visibility is a
Practical.
good thing, but yeah, it is practical. I guess for me, it began in Kalamunda because I thought that was one of the parameters, but also for me, it gets exciting once you get past Mundaring-Weir. So to get from Kalamunda to Mundaring-Weir, I didn't have much of a realignment. I just stuck with it because it was more about getting a bit further out. And then from there, I stuck with the track to Brookton Highway.
Oh, really?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did as well. My thing was all those pine plantations, they've got to go. You got to return them to Wandoo and Jarrah, preferably plant Wandoo if you can.
That would be good.
Mainly because I think one of the really nice things about the Helena Valley is the Wandoo, and then you get these plantations which are, I think Bonnie, you pointed out that they're all cleared as well, and the
Yes.
trail just walks through devastation now.
Yeah, I've actually got a few ideas for it to be a bit different. Leaving Kalamunda, I love that section through Jorgensen Park and down the hill. Although I think it needs to make it obvious that Rocky Pool's there.
Yep.
That's just a
Agree.
little thing.
Yep.
And then after Hills Forest, it would be good if it followed the old Pattons Brook Trail or something similar, like down closer to the water's edge of the dam between Hills Forest and Ball Creek, or even if Ball Creek wasn't, like if there's a different campsite. And Man's Gully is really nice, so I'd still want it to go there. But I wonder if you could take it along the base of the valley a bit further, so you're not just on those vehicle tracks, and then climb up the hill a bit closer to Helena, like after that water tank thing. If you could get it to climb up from the valley there, and then you'd get the really good views after that cleared section along the edge of the valley where there's those big granite outcrops and things.
There is a realignment being looked at the moment, which isn't too dissimilar from that, but it's a little bit closer to Helena, so you're off the road more, and then closer to the edge of the valley as you
That would be
approach
good.
Helena.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you actually approach
That would be really
Helena
good.
without coming down from the road. You're actually
cool.
walking along
Nice.
contours a bit more and approach it from the side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent idea.
That's good.
Because that's one thing that I have about this section is you don't really get to see much of the lake too much.
Yeah.
You get like an occasional view and you kind of know it's there, but it's not super obvious.
It's
that
probably
there.
partly because of Watercorp.
Yeah.
But I think it would be cool. Like I remember the Paddons Brook Trail had a really nice section where you could see the water.
Yeah. So I'm much the same. So I've got that basically unchanged. But now that you mention it, Bonnie, it'd be good to go the Pattons Brook route just because it makes more sense. But to get from John Forest to there, I would probably, you can duck south, and it's a little bit tricky, but you come from the north of the Helena Valley, and you can either hook up with the Munda Biddy and go straight along the river to Mundaring-Weir, or you can go the other way on the Munda Biddy and go up towards Hewitt's Hill and then follow the bib there.
Yeah, I
So
would
that's-
disagree with you there because I really like that section out of Kalamunda. I wouldn't want to get rid of that.
Yeah.
If you could work out a way for it to go through
It was
Kalamunda.
really tricky besides doing the Kalamunda Heritage bike trail that's really really boring. So yeah, that was my compromise of starting in the city is visiting John Forest.
Which would be cool.
Yeah. But past Helena Woolwich area, apart from avoiding the pine plantations towards Mount Dale, I didn't really have too much of a change.
Yeah, I really like that section, but it would be nice to have a bit more single track after the Ullen Road Bridge. There's a bit of you follow a road for quite a while. And then one of my favourite parts of the Darling Range is that single track where you go down a valley before Warlick. I love that section.
I think
and
it's
then climb back up.
Chinaman's Valley.
No.
Chinaman's Gully.
No, it's not Chinaman's
you're
Gully.
talking-
I used to like that before the fire. That area.
Okay.
You're
And I'm
talking
sure it
about the
will-
one that used to have the two little bridges across the creek. You cross the creek twice, and then you head up to
Yeah, and
Woolwich,
it's just
that
really
last little
dense
bit. Yeah.
Wandoo and Marry, and just really, it's really nice. And there's always wallabies and kangaroos there, and I love that section. And then after Warlick, even though it's on the road, that doesn't bother me for that section. I really enjoy it, and it's just pleasant. It's easy. It's okay.
I think the view of the surrounding sort of peaks, and I say peaks in inverted commas,
Ridge lines.
is nice. You know, you see all the granite there, so it looks nice. It's very pretty.
Yeah, I think it could be nicer if it was on a single track, but I'm not overly fussed by that. But after Berra King, I wonder if you could avoid those pine plantations by going downhill from closer to Berriking.
Yeah, I know, because when I wrote this up, I was like, you can easily shift it inland or west another 100, 200 metres, and you avoid the pine plantations. You don't avoid all of them, but most of them.
Yeah, the pine plantations through there don't bother me too much. It's more, there's a lot of roads and
steep road as well.
They bother me. They shouldn't be there.
It bothers me that they're there, and I wish it was all natural forest. But I don't mind walking past them for a bit. But it does kind of spoil the feeling of being in the wild nature.
Yeah.
And there's always cars and dirt bikes and stuff through there as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
However, I love the walk up Mount Dale. Once you clear of the roads and you're on the track, I really enjoy that.
That's pretty awesome through there, particularly in wildflower season.
Yeah.
That's one change I had made is Bibbulmun Track goes up and over Mount Dale.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Yeah.
And there's also, because I think Walk GPS, he's done a route around there and towards the river creek there. There's rapids and granite.
Oh, awesome.
I would take the track there instead of...
Do you mean along the Darken River?
Yeah. Instead of the current alignment
Yep.
past Mount Dale campsite.
Yeah, Mount Dale campsite isn't one of my favourites, but I'm not that perturbed about it that, you know.
But I was thinking that maybe my idea is not as good as Mark's, but there's already that Mount Dale circuit.
Yeah.
So you could take it around the Mount Dale circuit.
Which is kind of already an option for you anyway.
It
It's
is.
not
It is.
well marked.
I don't
to
think
say,
many
go
people
here.
do that.
No.
I don't think it's well known.
It would be nice if the hut was more on like the top, and you could actually get nice views. The only thing is
Bogans.
Bogan.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't Mount Dale, I'd say sure, but because you can drive up there.
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have a lot of interference.
Yep. No, they should just close the road and fine anyone who drives up. That's that's my harsh solution.
So on towards Brookton and Brookton Highway, anyone made any significant changes here?
Beyond Brookton, I've got significant changes.
I
Yeah.
think heading down from Mount Dale, it's kind of, I don't know where you'd take it differently except make it single track instead of road walking.
Yeah.
I'd still like to come off that granite outcrop, you know, just beyond where you leave Dale Road.
Yeah.
Part of Omeo Road. That's really
Yeah, I
good
like
views
that.
from there. It's
Yeah.
a nice spot. Yeah, I wouldn't change a whole lot. Maybe that last little bit along the power line,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
just that last
Yeah.
kilometre, I think it is. But that's all.
But we love the power line, Mark.
No,
So.
you love it. I don't.
I don't mind it because it's only short and it's a bit of a landmark.
Makes me
Yeah.
think
In
of
a
the
weird way.
castle.
The Serenity.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's not short. It's a kilometre.
Yeah.
It feels short. I don't mind it. This sounds ridiculous, but there's something about that power line that I find quite intriguing. The way it's so straight, and you see the power lines at Brookton Highway, and then you see them again after Mount Cook, and I have this feeling of like wonderment and awe at the power line road. I do. Like,
You should guest contribute that as for the next guidebook. Stare in wonderment at the power lines.
I do. I've always found. I find high voltage power lines kind of interesting.
Okay.
I'm not saying I'd want to walk the power lines track. I don't mind.
Your route just doesn't go Kalamunda to Collie via the power.
Yeah, let's just do that.
You could drive it, I suppose, not walk it.
The guidebook would be really short. It's like, head straight.
Yeah.
You're in Collie.
0.0. Leave power line.
So past Brookton Highway, I think we probably have a few changes coming up here because I know, Donovan, you're not a fan of this area.
I hate the section up to Canning. I just think it's boredom personified. That section is just so boring, made worse by fires in recent years. There's not a lot to love here. I do like coming down from the, you go down the escarpment and then you enter Horror. But before that, there's Abyssinia Rock. And I did the Walk GPS Abyssinia Rock walk, and that made me realize it's not the lesser cousin of Sullivan Rock. It's actually
it's huge.
way bigger.
Yeah.
And that's where it should go, and we should get rid of Canning and move the campsite somewhere else. That's my thoughts.
I don't mind that section so much, but I do wonder if you could take the track, if you're heading south, take it further to the left, or just go over Abyssinia Rock, like cross over it, like when you walk from Sullivan's Rock car park to the track and you cross over Sullivan's Rock. If you could do that, that would be cool. And then the swampy section, I don't mind too much, although I worry about dieback, so all the dieback stations are not so good.
Driven over
Yeah.
by cars. Yep. And the area just looks hideous.
No, I don't mind it.
I hate it.
don't mind it. There's, I mean,
I
the
like
bit
some
around
paper bikes.
Canning's
It's a
not
bit of
great.
variety.
I don't mind it, but there's a better place it can go, I think.
Where could it go?
So,
Where would you take it?
So
to?
before I tell you, there's a few little caveats, and this applies to most of my realignment. Okay, so number one, there's public right of way, like they have in the UK. So I'm talking. Some of this is a bit pie in the sky, but I'm putting it out there. There's hardly any logging. Everyone, at least in Perth, relies on water tanks. So therefore, there's no reason to not swim in water catchments. That's another one. We're going well so far. Trail boats don't exist on planet Earth. and mining is restricted to Queensland. How do you think we'll go?
This sounds like utopia.
So I would still head to Abyssinia Rock, whether it's on the current alignment or, I think it's better than what it used to be. It used to follow roads all the way around to Abyssinia Rock. So it's...
Yeah, I really don't mind Brookton Highway to Abyssinia Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Pleasant
there's,
enough.
there's a lot of single file trail there, which
Especially
is quite
like
good.
you say, up on that ridge, then you come down off it. But once you get to Abyssinia Rock, then, yeah, like you said, Bonny, head to the east. So left as you're heading south. And I would actually take it quite a way east. So the area out there towards Watershed Road, there's another road out there called Schultzstad Road. And the reason I know it is because I set a road gain out there once. And it's just absolutely magnificent country, not just in Wandoo, but loads and loads of rocky outcrops. It's just spectacular all through that area.
Awesome.
So I would skip Canning for that reason. I just head right
Interesting.
out through that. Yeah.
Because there's not a lot. I mean, that's the thing, is that there's all that Wandoo forest that's on that side, leading
Yeah.
towards like Dryandra and Boyargin Rock,
Yep.
and we don't see it.
No.
We just skip it, and it's more Jarrah.
Yep.
And if I
Yep,
can
Jarrah.
say let's skip Jarrah, I'll say let's skip Jarrah.
Even as a person who likes Jarrah, I think around Canning Campsite, now that it's really, really burnt, it's not a lot to enjoy, and it's just kind of like samey. And my only thoughts around this section, not knowing about the Wandoo and the rocky bits, was to move Canning Campsite up onto the hill overlooking the valley where the Canning River goes, because I think that's more fitting, because Canning Campsite's nowhere near the Canning River, and if you had it up on the hill, at least it's a nicer view. Whereas
So the route I'm proposing to go
Yeah.
out that way actually then follows the Canning River itself south. So it
Yeah.
actually picks up on it while you're still going through all that Wandoo.
That sounds really
pretty
good.
cool,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Yeah. And so, the thing I've said about no water catchment, you can swim anywhere along there.
Canning River. So Steve, you've got it. You're following it. I would probably just cross it where it normally goes. But leading up the hill to Mondanox, would you take it further east, or would you bring it west?
I was really torn here because I'd love the track to actually go up Randall as well.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And so I'm thinking Randall, Monadnock's campsite, Wandoo to the east, which way? And then I kind of went, both ways. So do what the second alignment did. The second Bibbulmun track had two routes, basically, and not just for one day. It was actually for like multi-days. It actually split into the regular route and an eastern alternative route.
Yeah, I disagree with that because I think it overcomplicates things, especially for people who do the Bibbulmun as a one-off. But if you had the official one and
an
a
option.
loop that comes off the track, that would be good. I wouldn't prioritise going over Mount Randall because you've already
Me
got the
too.
side trip.
As long as it was actually signed, because that's the thing that sucks now, is that there's no sign.
It doesn't bother me because it makes it feel a bit more wild.
But I think
But
that
yes,
these side trips
yeah,
should be
I agree.
signed. Like you said about Rocky
Like
Pool.
Rocky Pool, yeah.
Yeah. I kind of think that the Wandoo is good because I think there's actually a lot of interesting granite outcrops and valleys on that side. That would be cool to see instead of what we do see.
Yeah.
So yeah, that.
But I'd take the track, even if I were to not go east and go towards Monadnock, I'd take it off Herald Road and head towards
Yeah.
Randall anyway.
Yeah.
And there's actually some old rail formations there as well, which
Yeah.
are nicer because, they're more vegetated now.
The other idea I had, and I didn't look into it to see if it was feasible, but there's some really cool hills to the, I think, is it to the north, like Eagle Hill with the marble, some devil marble looking rocks on top, and
Because I had the track just heading west a
would make
little
it longer
bit.
though.
to go up over Eagle Hill. It's not that much further away. And then you can go over Mount Randall.
There's some
and then
really
double
nice
back
places you
into
could potentially take the
Monadnock.
Bibbulmun.
So it's not too much of a diversion, and you get better views, and you're off Herald Road as well.
The other thing too is I'd like to keep Cuthbert and Vincent as much as possible. So
Yeah.
that's why I was really torn with going to the east and keeping that as well.
Mm.
So is everyone staying at Monadnock then? You haven't moved the campsites, Steve?
I like the campsite.
Well, yeah, I have. If you take the alternate route,
Yeah.
so if you take, well, let's call it the main route, if you like. But yeah, so I've actually had a campsite right out in the Wandoo, and then I don't actually head back in. Well, again, I was ripped up a bit. So whether you come back in to get Mount Cook or stay east, and then kind of curl back in and round about the Serpentine River and across the highway.
So you
at
skip
the-
that everything.
Yeah, so again, that's why I thought this would only work if it was an alternative route, because Mount Cook is great. You know, there's a lot to be said
That would
for
be
it.
an awesome loop walk.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Well, again, no trail box on planet Earth would be the key one.
So for those of us that have the kept roughly the original alignment, still Mount Cuthbert, Mount Vincent, Mount
Yeah.
Cook.
Yes.
There's no changes up and over Mount Cook or
think,
Sullivan Rock.
I think that leading up to Mount Cook, it could be better, less road walking.
Yep.
You know, I think leaving the burnt out car, because that's a landmark.
Yeah. And that Jarrah through there is actually pristine.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. But imagine, I was thinking a single track through there, take it away from the roads, but still through that beautiful Jarrah forest.
Yeah.
And I was also wondering, when you're on Mount Cook, you can see there's kind of foothills of Mount Cook. And I wonder if it could,
Yeah.
if that would
so
be interesting.
the ridge line continuing north.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you could. So I always wondered, the first time I went out there, walking to Mount Cook campsite, you look to the left and there's got that hill.
Yeah.
I thought the track originally went up there, but to get to Mount Cook you have to go down and then go up. So if you could go on that ridge line and then somehow have the campsite along there, I reckon that would be pretty cool.
Obviously, I think we all agree that across Mount Cook is fine.
Absolutely.
I did have an idea, though, for descending Mount Cook, that I like the Cook Plantation Trail better, because I think it's kind of nice. It goes along like that creek.
Yep, down the gully.
Down the gully. And then compulsorily acquire all the land there and return it back to forest. And then... And don't actually walk into the plantation, but kind of skirt around, because when you're descending that trail, you look into the forest and there's all these massive granite boulders, and actually go and explore that. Because the way where it goes now, yes, it's more gradual and nice in that sense, but it's not very scenic. And if you went through there, you'd see all those boulders. Maybe you could climb up, do some different things. Not climb up for the trail, but just off the trail, you could go and explore.
That's really cool, but I'm torn because I love the southern descent of Mount Cook. I really, really love that.
You'd still have some of it, even if you did that other
Yeah.
trail.
Yeah, I know.
Like, you still get the cave and you'll get all that
yeah.
other
Yeah.
stuff there. And then here's where I had a bit of a radical change, because I hate Narang to Grinja Creek. I think it is utterly boring and crap.
But when I like that section.
I hate it. And I think that at this point, the trail veers across to the other side of the
Just
highway.
need to walk it at sunset, and then it's really pretty.
Yeah, late afternoon, it's good. And feel free to stab him, Steve. This is your maintenance section.
I think go across the other side, because there's heaps of granite boulders and peaks to that side
Other side of
of the highway.
The highway?
Yeah, cross the highway
Okay.
at the power lines, or before the power lines, wherever. And
Is it
go and
Wandoo
explore.
through there? I can't quite picture
There's
it.
bits of it's burnt at
mainly
the moment.
Jarrah.
Yeah, it's burnt
Yeah.
Jarrah.
But you get up to the ridge there, and there's a lot of granite there that looks way better than the supposedly pristine Wandoo Creek systems that are boring between Narang and
I
Grinja
like
Creek.
the Wandoo Creek sections, but I'd want more single track.
But it doesn't go anywhere near it. Like, it's so far from
But I don't care. I just like the Wandoo, and I find it pleasant.
I find that
I'm
there's a
happy
lot
to
of it
have
is...
that on a long track like the Bibbulmun. I'm happy to have just a mellow, dull was the wrong word, but maybe slightly dull, mellow section.
But a
It's
lot of
not
it is
too
burnt
far.
Jarrah, though. It's so much of it is burnt
some of
Jarrah.
it.
A lot of it.
Some of it.
No, I would say some. Like, I was surprised at how little was actually burnt through there.
There's actually more burnt on the other side of the highway.
Yeah.
At the moment, but it depends on when you did it, I think, because when I did it, it was not long after they had an out of control burn. I can't say I loved it.
Well, I think I've taken my route more towards where you were heading, Steve, because there is, I think it's Yoraling State Forest, and you look on Google Maps and there's all that granite outcrops further to the north, which my main reason was you take it away from the noise of the highway that you can hear.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if the forest is still as good through there.
So north of...
So like running parallel to where it is now, but just a bit further north, there's more granite. Like they look like quite large granite platforms. That would be cool.
Yeah, I
to
think that would
break
be
up the
good, and with
forest.
single track rather than on those old roads.
But I guess it kind of depends like when you're walking. I think winter, early spring, this section's really nice.
Yeah.
But then when it starts to get warmer, I think that's where it can be
dries out.
Yeah. Is everyone running near North Bannister?
No.
I've got a spur, and that's it. Just in case you want to finish your walk there and get the bus or head to the tavern or whatever. But basically, once I've come in picked up the Serpentine River from much further east, coming in across the highway at the Serpentine River.
Yeah.
And then follow that for a fair way and then start heading south. But yeah, North Bannister is just a spur.
Yeah, so what I came up with was instead of... Because people use North Bannister maybe, or at least they used to, as a restock. Well, at the moment, the people there are not very helpful, so it's pointless. I think what would be better is if they had... So on the Larapinta, they've got those lockers that you can have stuff dropped off at. I think Sullivan Rock, you could put that there, but have cameras there and force, and I say this underline with like 50 million lines, and force that if anyone breaks in there, that the fines are steep and severe for taking things from the locker.
Is it one or two hands?
No, I think monetary is fine. But, you know, then you have that restock point, because that's the only criticism I think people have of that section is if they don't go to North Bannister, it's a long time to be travelling with all your food.
That's a really good idea. I'd never thought of putting
A locker.
lockers. But then it's a slippery slope. It's like you put lockers there and then...
Yeah. Like people drag out gates and everything, so I think lockers would probably get
Hence why you've got to enforce it, like to the point of like if they tow it out with their ute, the ute gets confiscated and destroyed. You know, like that level of like enforcement.
Crushed to cube.
Yeah.
So about a year ago or so, when the North Bannister Tavern closed for, I don't know which time it was, but before it reopened before it reopened in its latest iteration anyway, there was no indication that it was going to open anytime soon. So I actually did a business case up for something like what you said, but not lockers. It was actually a shipping container.
Okay.
Which you can't break into too easily. But not placed at Sullivan Rock, because it was going to be on not the alignments we're talking about, but actually on the way to, not far in from the highway, on the way to Boonering Hill. So where the private property is there.
Good idea.
Somewhere in there. Because they are a sponsor of the track.
Okay.
That own the Pine Plantation there. And so looked into right, and then the tavern opened up again, so it kind of fell in a heap. It didn't happen.
But I like your idea, Steve, of that shipping container, because you would have to then go through the private property to get to it. If you had it on the corner as you're heading up towards that first hill, that would be ideal.
Yep.
Yeah.
It had, the thing about it had to have vehicle access, because if you have someone dropping food off for you, you don't want them walking 4Ks into it or something like that. So it had to be pretty close that way. But, and, you know, use a system of either, you know, the registered keys, and people pay a deposit for the key and then return it. Something around like that anyway. But we'll see.
Yeah. So for me, I don't really have any changes to dwelling up apart from coming off Mount Wells. I would prefer that to go to the west and avoid seeing the mine. And then I don't know what the forest is like through there, but just anywhere just to avoid seeing the mine. Yeah.
I had two things related to that. One would see the mine, because I said, allow us access to the top of the lookout.
What's left of it?
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Yep. And the other thing was to soundproof the hut so you don't hear the roar of the
No,
engines.
but that's part of the character.
But remember, all mining's restricted to Queensland, so...
Oh, yeah. But even if it's not, I don't mind hearing the mining there, just for that one night. I feel like there's something about it that's a bit spooky and interesting. I'd hate it if it was the whole track, but just for one night.
Okay.
I don't mind it. But I would say I want more single track between North Bannister and Dwelling Up in general.
Yeah.
Especially between
There's
North
a lot
Bannister
of boring
and Mount
road
Wells.
walking.
A lot of road walking. It wouldn't all need to be single track. I think some of the road walking is pleasant, and I love the forest especially between Whitehorse Hills and Mount Wells.
I agree. Like that's some of
Or
the,
even from Boonering Hill to Mount Wells. I really, really enjoy the forest through there.
Yeah, that's probably one of the few sections of Jarrah Forest that I went, I actually really like this, was through that section.
Yeah, until they burn it next.
Until they burn it next. Yeah.
But at the moment,
They've
it's beautiful.
already tried.
But there's a section, especially after... What's the river between Whitehorse Hills and Mount Wells? I can't remember. Is it Dandalup or something?
Yeah, it is.
But after that, if you could take it through single track and not through the firewood collection area...
A lot of that section between Whitehorse, like you say, and Mount Wells is on road. Some of that incorporates the old track as well.
Yeah.
Because the old track basically headed around the back of Whitehorse Hills and never went up it. And that 2-kilometre stretch from Whitehorse Hills before you descend down, those rocky outcrops, that's outstanding. So
I love
just for
that
that
section.
section, for that, I'd retain it.
Yeah.
But and to Mount Wells, because I love Mount Wells as well, mining or not. The view from the top of that tower is spectacular. So if they ever fixed it and you could get all the way to the top, it is amazing from
They
up
should
there.
fix it.
Yeah.
Because that little platform that's halfway up,
You can't see shit.
Yeah.
you used to see more. You did used to see. You could see clear to Mount Cook, but that one further up. The problem though is if you get that view from the top, you see right into the pits as well. So there's plus
That's
and
all right.
minus.
Yeah, but that's kind of, I think if in such a mining state, it's not, except in your alternate future.
Yeah.
Well, as it says on the guidebook, experience the spirit of the Southwest. And if you take it in that sense, no, honestly, part of the spirit of the Southwest.
I didn't come up with that slogan.
No, but if you're
not
following
mine.
that slogan, which I'm happy to do, I accept that part of the spirit of the Southwest is that the landscape isn't pristine. It's a bit sad, but you can
I understand, but Boddington
explaining
Gold
very
Mine
well.
I'll accept because it is just one mine. It's not tiny, but it's just one mine. Whereas like the bauxite mining is a
Yeah.
cancer. It spreads.
I agree.
Yeah.
And actually, from that first bit just after Whitehorse Hills, I enjoy seeing the pit and the tailings dam because it has that really cool like turquoise color to it, and it almost reminds me of like an inland lake in like Canada or somewhere. But getting right up close to it, I don't think I'd want to do.
I'm not a fan of the view from Mount Vincent is getting worse and worse. All the
Yeah.
It is.
bauxite mines in the distance. I don't like that, but I don't mind the Mount Wells mining ambiance. And this is completely irrational.
Oh, the serenity.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's unique.
Drowns out the screams of the ghosts.
This is just completely irrational and just me personally, but I don't mind it.
Does anyone...
I do love Mount Wells. I love the campsite. There's a lot of history there too, and I think that's important. So in my realignment bits too, further south, I've tried to bring in more history. But yeah, Mount Wells is pretty cool.
Yeah, we'd better get on because this is taking a while. Into Dwelling Up, is everyone happy with that alignment? Or
Not really. Mount Wells to Chedora, it's okay. Gets you there. It's easy. It's pleasant, but I find it a bit boring, and I think there could be room for improvement there. As for what the improvement is, I don't really have an answer.
I actually enjoy following the railway.
Not saying it's bad.
Yeah, into Dwelling Up. I think that's probably the best way to go into
Yeah,
town.
I agree.
I like
That's
that.
good.
I like that. You don't like that.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, look, there is something to be said for that, but my realignment would actually take you from Mount Wells almost due west, so much higher than much further north in the current alignment, to South Dandalup Dam for a swim, because it's not water catchment anymore, right? Yeah, so follow the shore there and then basically drop south. Whether you come into Dwelling Up closer to where the Mundabiddi comes in, so the other side of Del Park Road, or just stay that same side, the east side, and drop in through there somewhere. Not quite sure what the forest is like there, but be worthwhile just to go to the dam.
Yeah, I wouldn't change that. I find that railway section is just a bit of a novelty, and people disagree with me. Some people who I've spoken to are like, I hate that section because it goes on that single trail that's all windy and goes up and down, and there's the railway line right there, and what's the point of the single track? But I really like it.
Yeah, I think the Jarrah Forest through there is actually quite spectacular.
Except I think they should make some sort of maybe like a portal thing where you can just step through. Like
I think we've got to follow the laws of physics.
I thought I was out there.
I was just going to say the last few kilometres into Dwelling Up,
Yeah.
for me, they really, really drag on. Oh no, what you need to do is amend the guidebook and just say that it's longer than it actually is. And then you'll feel like it doesn't drag on as much because you'll be expecting it to be further.
But I agree, because you come across a lot of, like, especially near the
It just
Holyoke
goes on and
town
on.
site,
After Holyoke. Before
Yeah.
Holyoke it's great, and then after that it's like,
because you get a lot of invasive species and non-natural species.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like, can we get there already?
I'm just like, I just want my halloumi burger. Hurry up.
You could always get the train in if you wait for it.
No, but then you have to hop on the train at
Yeah.
at Million.
At Million,
At
yeah.
Million,
And you
yeah.
do skip a good section. I was
And you have
5
to get
minutes
the
late
timing right.
from getting the tourist train when I was coming
And
through
does
there.
that count for an end to any, Steve?
Only if you tell someone. Or don't tell someone.
All right, so we've all got it going through Dwelling Up.
Yep.
That's good. Leaving Dwelling Up, I think this is probably where the track could improve quite a lot, because I think the interaction with Lane Pool Reserve and the Murray River is quite lacking. I mean, you don't really see the Murray River until a day and a half out of.
I agree,
Dwelling
but
Up.
it also takes you away from all the car-based riffraff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Patrons. Not all riffraff.
They're people too, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I do car-based camping.
Yeah, I've camped
I
there.
do too.
I've camped there.
I do enjoy driving my car down through Lane Pool Reserve. I'm only joking. But if you
I actually
walk along
quite-
there, it's quite busy. And
I actually quite like the forest through there because it's quite old regrowth. It's like nearly 100 years old.
yeah, actually, I
so I
enjoy
quite like
I
it.
enjoy the walk. I enjoy the small bit of pine plantation because for its novelty value. But it would be nice if instead of where Swamp Oak is, if it could go down to the river and have a campsite on the river. But it's not practical because of traffic and people and riffraff.
Yeah. People doing the right thing.
But being
is the
if
big...
you're in a dream alignment, I'd say
Yeah.
put a campsite down at the swimming hole, but beneath
Yeah.
Swamp Oak.
Island Pool. That
No,
one there.
it's not Island
It's
Pool.
between
it's,
Charlie's Flat and Island Pool.
Yeah, it's a really pretty area, and there's like a clearing, which I don't know if that would flood in the in
So I think
really
if
high
you could
rainfall winters, but if you
take
could have a
it
campsite there.
to there and just say, look, there's no shelter. I mean, people should be carrying tents anyway, but if you had the water
so you
tank
can
there,
put your tent there. Good
yeah,
idea.
just have extra
Yeah.
spots saying you can't book these are walkers only.
Yeah, we don't do a lot. We don't do very well with that kind of walk-in campsites. There's not a lot of places like that. There's a lot more catering for car camping, and then there's like the Bibbulmun and Cape to Cape ones, which are specifically. But in Victoria, for example, there's a lot more of this sort of like walk-in
Yeah.
camping.
And I think that could work quite well. And people in cars could still camp there, but they just couldn't drive their car all the way to where they're putting up their tent.
Yeah.
And I suppose in Steve's ideal world, there's no mining, so you'd probably be able to drink from the Murray River if you treated it a little bit.
There's farming as well.
There's
Yeah.
farming further up.
Farming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so no.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I didn't put a no farming caveat in.
Although that would open up such a large area because there'd be no land clear.
So I would realign the track so it's closer to the river where possible without
What
being too
about
close.
River Road, though? Because I would, if it wasn't for the road.
There's too
But
much
I don't
traffic
see...
on it. That's the
there's
problem.
too much traffic.
Well,
and
it's
I
going to
don't...
be
There's not
bitumised
enough...
now as well.
A lot of it. Well, to the
Yeah,
closer
to
to
the-
the
Yeah,
up
no, a
it
lot
is,
of it's
but-
still gravel. But there's not enough space between the road and the river, and it's quite a steep hill slope. I just don't see how it would work.
Once really you get past
Oh, no,
Island,
I know. Go over the other side, like the King Jarrah Trail, and then cross back over the river.
Even that's four-wheel drive.
No,
track though, isn't
yeah,
it?
no.
Yeah.
No, just leave
and
it how
it's-
it is.
It's
Like,
steeper on that side in some
Yeah.
places too. So I would be, once you get past Island Pool, there's fewer people down that way anyway.
That's
so
true.
I would bring the track closer to the river about there. So when you leave Swamp Oak, currently it heads up Swamp Oak Brook and then comes over down Yarragal right away from the river. I'd bring it much closer to the river so it's not that far out where it crosses the Yarragal Form.
Yeah.
I'm of two minds because I love the Yarragal Valley. That's
Yeah.
and most people would disagree because it's like a big downhill, big uphill. But I just, for some strange reason, I just love that.
I like the ridge on the top, up at Loop Road, that old rail formation, that big sweeping curve one. But you can get to it from
I
another
enjoy
way.
the valley itself, like walking down the valley, even though it's all burnt at the moment. There's something about that valley that to me is quite spectacular and dramatic, and the trees are huge.
I feel like you want to say something.
No, it's all good. I like the rail formation from Swamp Oak, and then when he goes up, turns right and then goes up. That area is so boring. The Jarrah Forest is hideous through there.
I agree. I don't like from the rail formation to.
But then coming down is nice, though.
Yeah.
Coming down is nice, but it's more sheer oak going up, and it's on the leeward side, the non-rain
But
side.
I think She-Oak, when it's burnt as well, just has this like.
Yeah.
Also, it's all on roads. I quite like She-Oak on single track. Not the biggest fan of She-Oak on roads.
Yeah.
Even though I do like She-Oak.
Because like near Monadnock, there's a fair bit of She-Oak walking. It looks all right.
Yeah, as you're going up from Yarragal, a lot of the She-Oak is on the roads.
Yeah.
And it is kind of, you're on a ridge, but you don't really get to see anything. So I think following the river would be a lot better through there.
Just as a slight digression and point of interest, maybe, that Swamp Oak rail formation, that used to be the old track, except you used to walk it in the opposite direction. So you'd still be heading south, but walking the opposite direction, because it used to not go out to Chidora. I used to cross the highway and come in through that way, and then head out to River Road, and then pick up the Murray River walk trail, that circuit walk, which you can't do anymore. But yeah, my track from there would head to Murray. Murray would stay. I love that campsite.
I would head down towards the river a bit earlier. But other than
But
that,
mine
I'd
follows
keep,
the river all the way to Murray. That's what I'm saying.
I'd keep the Yarragal Valley, the big descent ascent, and then do another descent. And I know people would disagree because they'd be like, why put in hills if you don't need them? But I'd rather go up and down hills with nice scenery and forest.
Coming from Mount Wells, like you've got a few days there where you don't really do much climbing.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I think, and the Murray Valley is known for its hills, and it is
Yeah.
good views and a deep river. So I think climbing there is not too much of an issue.
Because the section I really like, and I'm not just saying this to flatter you, but I really like the Sanctuary of Pi, your your maintenance section. But then if you could have more walking like that, like the single track above the river with a few points where you could walk down to the river for a swim, but have that start a lot earlier, so not long after the Yarragal Valley, that would be really good. And that's where a lot of people complain about how narrow the track is, but I love that section.
They're going to get a machine in there. So
No!
I'm going to protest my area. I don't think a machine needs to go through there.
That's like one of my favourite bits. I love it because it's overgrown and it's...
What kind of machine?
They're talking about a machine. I'll talk to you after, Steve, but they've been in the works for a while. I think because there's a section, I don't think anyone's maintaining it, and the prickly mows have all fallen over. But around Murray, it's further south of Murray, I would actually love for it to follow the river quite closely. I think there's that 50-metre gap that why would you put it there?
Yeah,
if it's
so
on
close,
single
but
tray anyway.
Still so
I
far.
actually disagree because I thoroughly enjoy where it meanders up the ridge and down the ridge through some beautiful forest with views.
Yeah.
However, I would want it to go closer to the river after that, like after you've done that up and down meandering section.
There's a lot of burnt forest through there that I don't like.
No, but if you could make the track go right along the river,
Exactly, it wouldn't
just
really
above,
matter.
just above the
Yeah,
winter
it's why-
high
No.
waterline.
That's why I think
can,
you should follow the river and
you
not
can
go
canoe
up.
upstream
you
up
could
the
have
river.
You could have Erin River,
It's too fast flowing.
like the Erin Inlet,
No, it's
have a couple
not.
of chants.
I've paddled that section. I've done Driver Road right through to Baden Powell. It's
when
lovely.
Driver Road is overflowing.
No, well,
it's too...
it was close to it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I just had a really good idea. Like the Erin Inlet crossing. What if, not far out of Dwellingup, you had a canoe shed and you could canoe the Murray River to Murray
You
instead
could
of
you
going
could do it
past
going
Swamp
north.
Oak.
You couldn't do it going south.
Yeah, I think that people would be really
Yeah.
shitty about having to paddle
That'd be
upstream.
that'd be the
Stream.
worst. Trying to then tow a canoe,
Yeah.
paddle for days.
Oh,
You'd have to
yeah.
return the canoe.
The shed's fully.
I do have another spot where I think a canoe could be, but we'll wait till later.
Ooh, there you
Well,
go.
no, but
Me too.
if this is the dream version, then you just have like some hot air balloons.
Yeah, so onwards to Ducanelli. I think if it followed the river, I mean, I'm happy for it to go up that ridge and then back down, but it needs to have that connection with the river a lot more.
I agree with that, and less on the road.
And then Ducanelli, I think, to Possum Springs, I think we've probably all got changes here.
Yes.
Yeah, take it off the vehicle track. I mean,
Yes,
that's a simple.
please do.
Yeah.
I've got more massive changes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So to Ducanelli, I quite like that section, but yeah, off the road's fine. And then from Ducanelli, I would actually closely, but not right on the original alignment. So staying east of the river, heading down, follow still if you can. If that private property wasn't quite where it was, you could follow the river all the way down, and then all the way cross the Hotham right into Quindanning to the pub. So following the river
That's
all
not
the
the
way.
worst idea.
Yeah, so Quindanning's an awesome spot. I've stayed there many times, but well, not recently. But yeah, pick up the track out to Quindanning, cross over, and head back toward kind of not Possum Springs, but toward back into the Lane Pool Reserve, down towards Yortamung. Pick it up that way. So I wouldn't go to Possum Springs at all.
That's cool, except that I really love Possum Springs area. That area where the campsite is. I love it.
The thing about that area too,
But I'm
I think you
sure-
could, if you really liked it, I think you can replicate it. I think there's
Yeah, I
lots
was
of
going to
areas
say, I'm
like
sure
that.
if you
you know,
took it
so-
further east, there'd
Yeah.
be something
There's lots of
similar.
Wandoo
Same,
that way
but
as
different.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember there's no mining, so it'll be all right.
So there's no conveyor belt.
Exactly.
But that's another thing, because it's a one-off, it's a novelty.
Yeah, I don't mind the conveyor belt. It's
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
What I hate about the conveyor belt is the signs on the opposite side.
Oh, the
saying,
greenwashing.
Yeah, the look how much great Alcoa's doing at supporting the community and doing all that. I was like, no, just no.
Yes and no, depending on what perspective you take on it.
Yeah. But I actually enjoy the area around Possum Springs when you're going up and down. It just feels like you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's why I
which-
like it as well. And there's always
yeah.
lots of cockatoos there.
Yeah, I just wish there wasn't as many four-wheel drive tracks around Possum
Yeah.
Springs.
Yeah.
And then Possum Springs to, let's say, Yortamung. I think that 6 or 7 kilometre stretch of
Wilson.
Wilshusen
Wilshusen.
Road, that could be single track.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because I love aspects of that section, make it one of my favourites. I don't know if there's other areas that are similar, but I really like the plonk hole with all the orange.
So around the plonk hole
Starflowers
keep,
and-
but then as soon as you get onto that full drive track, it's like you could replicate that 100 metres off track and it'd be even better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
So the whole kingdom of pie.
No. So around the plonk hole is a 3 kilometre section where it's fantastic. Like it's a really unique part of the
Brass
track.
trees are spectacular.
Yeah. But then you hit that full drive track and it's just like winding up and downs. You could just take that inland on a single track and you'd probably get a much, much better experience.
The other thing I'd want to do away with is the four-wheel drive track area around the Harris River Flats or just before the Harris River Flats. I don't enjoy that section, like crossing the river on the four-wheel drive, but I don't know how else you do it. But if it was my dream Bibbulmun, I'd have a boardwalk through the Harris River Flats. And I'd also get rid of those power lines that you can see in the distance because they ruin the view.
They're the same ones you like up at Mount Cook.
No, but they don't have the same mystique.
See, I disagree because I saw them and I was like, oh, that actually looks quite nice. I like looking east and then I saw the
No,
power
because
lines.
they're
I
too
was
far away.
like, oh, okay.
No. What you need to do is make the boardwalk go right near those power lines. That would be cool because then you can.
So wait, you don't like them, but now you love them.
No.
wanna go
I love it
closer.
when you're close up to them and you can look up and in wonderment and awe at the high voltage power line and hear it humming.
But you cross
That's
them
cool.
so many times the next day.
So I'm being a bit silly, but yeah, being irrational. I don't like the view in the distance of my beloved power lines. Maybe if you could make them go underground just through that section.
So everyone
So-
agrees we keep Yortamung?
So Yortamung, keep it, but
Don't
this
burn
is
it.
the big
Don't
but.
burn it, yeah.
Rezone that area as wilderness and don't have any fires. So like, don't manage the forest. Just let it be and don't burn it because what I saw there was the most depressing I've ever seen of like burnt forest.
I think that was a bit of a problem burn. Like I don't know that much about it, to be honest. But when I went there, it was like everything was black. Like
Yeah, the burnt out roots of old growth forest. That's what really irked me.
Yeah.
'Cause I think it needs to be
No,
maintained.
you do have a point.
In a pristine. This is like a little bit of virgin forest that is what it was, and I think it should just be left alone and just let it be what it is. And if a fire comes through, but just let it happen as its own pace. Don't prescribe burn this area.
I'd keep Yortamung as well. But I was torn a little bit here because south of Yortamung, you go through that area where got the old wooden railways. There's not much of them left now, but they're still there. But I was going to realign the track, so it didn't go quite to the existing Harris Dam campsite, but close to it, but actually went a lot closer to the lake, because again, not water catchment anymore, and followed the lake to where it comes out at the Harris Dam area.
I was going to say the same thing about walking along the lake.
So, the track used to go a lot closer to it than what it does now. That section, particularly between the existing Harris Dam campsite and the picnic area, used to go much closer.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say as well. And I think there might, in that old Calm Bushwalks book, there's a day walk along the old alignment of the track. I don't know if you can still do that, but that's what I had in mind as...
Because it's such a short day between Yortamung and Harris Dam, you can kind of fiddle around with adding distance there.
But it's kind of nice to have a short day there because a lot of people like to do a double into Collie.
We might have a different alignment into a Collie, so...
Oh, yeah, true.
Yep. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So into Collie, it's a major town. I think the alignment right now is it takes you away from town, and you're so close at the end of a 7-day stretch or a 6-day stretch. You just want to get in, and there's an access point that you can go from the northeast, and it's forest pretty much all the way to the highway, and then you can walk into town from there, rather than going all the way west and then walking through West Australia, and on the Spur Trail as well, which is 2 kilometres that you have to walk each way.
Yeah.
I think getting into town as quickly as possible is important.
100% agree. I quite like that Westralia area. It's all right.
I
don't like having a spur trail into the town.
I think the great tragedy of Westralia is you have to walk it twice because I hate it so much.
I agree. I don't hate Westralia. And I also think you walked it when it was... Did you walk it when it was recently burnt?
No, it just was horrible. I've walked it twice. I've walked it twice.
Well, in and out.
In and out. Yeah. And I hate it.
So my realignment from the picnic area takes you much further west. So you're basically heading southwest towards Allenson and not Collie. So you're heading towards that as your track town, with a spur off the track, not at Allenson, but near it to go into Collie, if that's what you wanted to do.
If Allenson had facilities, that could be cool. And then you could take it around down towards the Collie River and the dam wall and all that.
Which is where...
Lake.
Yeah, so I'd actually pick up the old alignment of the track there and then head it... well, the old alignment of the track went to the dam, but to the western bank.
Yeah.
I would actually go to Allenson and come down on the eastern bank.
Along with Wilma and Billia?
Eventually,
the
but
new
not quite.
New...
So I'd come down the east bank of the dam and then have canoes.
That's what I was going to do! Yeah.
Over to pick up part of the William Billia, not a whole lot of it, and then bring that down towards the wall.
So my idea was that you would go into town a different alignment, probably similar to what Mark... I didn't quite have an idea for specifically, but then you would, unfortunately, walk through Australia and then come to the eastern side, and then at a narrowish point, you would kayak across to the other side and then pick up on that side.
And I was going to say almost exact same as you, Donovan, except I hadn't thought about how you deal with the water situation. I hadn't thought of canoes or whatever. I was just like, somehow, if you could pick up the Wilman-Billia. I love the Wilman-Billia. Also, this is all pie in the sky stuff, but I really, really, really love the walk along the Collie River to Honeymoon Pool. And my idea was follow the Collie River for quite a long way and then somehow, somewhere, go through the Ferguson Valley, kind of like the Bailing Up area, like through some farms and stuff, and have a bit of a winery section. Mm-hmm. I think that could be really nice, but very much not feasible in the real world, like it's a dream thing.
In my pie in the sky version, we would compulsorily acquire that farm and it'd become part of the national park. Yeah. And the national park would be a rezoned wilderness where it won't be burnt either.
No, but the pie in the sky we would just have Western Australia mostly unsettled to begin with and have a beautiful, beautiful pristine wilderness that wasn't cleared. And
So having the right of way would
Ah,
solve some
true.
of the problems.
Exactly.
It would,
One of the
yeah.
caveats, right? So I had a, pardon me, same idea, going to the Ferguson Valley. So, but to follow the western end of the dam, all the way as far as you could go off the point, the southernmost point of the dam, head down towards Ferguson Valley. But I'd still have that alternate route to head to the Mumby pub.
yeah, I think so as well. But
via
then that could
Glen
be like
Mervyn, maybe, I don't know. But
a big circle route.
Yeah.
in any case, the Ferguson route would still come back.
Yes.
It would go to Loudon, the township of Loudon, and then pick up the old railway line and follow that back to the Mumby pub.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I've got same thing. So I'm going through Wellington National Park. I'm exiting to the southwest. I'm actually taking the track to Donnybrook. So through the Ferguson Valley, maybe mix in some wineries, some restaurants, so you've got options, and walking through the farmland. Getting into Donnybrook's a bit hard because there's large stretches where it's farmland and...
Yeah, I thought of that and I discounted it as an idea because I thought it's not wild enough.
So that's the only issue going into Donnybrook, but then it opens up so much more. And like as much as I like the Preston National Park, I think
So I wouldn't
That-
want to skip that.
yeah, that section I can deal with missing. This is where my alignment kind of very differs from where it currently goes.
I kind of like Preston, even though when I came to it initially, I joked at how crap it was, and then I was surprised by how beautiful it actually was. But my biggest problem there is that as you're coming down from Preston to the next to Noggerup, there's all that nice granite sort of terrain. And then it just sort of like pays it. It's like, oh yeah, there's granite terrain, but no, we're going to go through more Jarrah forest that's a bit burnt. And it's just like, no, just give me that. Like, that's what's interesting, you know? And if you just focused more on that, I think there could be good stuff here. But I have a lot of problems between Noggerup and Bailing Up because I feel, as I've said multiple times, that you can put the photos of that whole section in different orders and it'll look the same. Like, you wouldn't be able to tell. Like, I think
I
I
quite
could.
like that section.
I hate it.
My only change would be, or my main change would be heading out of Mumballup, and I believe the track used to go this way before I walked that section. But instead of going up the road, just walk through the farms.
So I'd pick up the old trail, as in the old trail from Mumballup and head to the Noggerup town site. Out that way following rail formation. There's that old railway line still there. Maybe a bit further in because you are a bit close to the road. But the reason I'd head out there is because I've actually walked from Noggerup campsite to Noggerup. And there's some really awesome waterfalls through there and granite, and it's just really lovely. So I'd actually pick that up. I wouldn't come back into Noggerup campsite. I'd come in further south, down toward Wild Dog Road, somewhere around there, I think somewhere. And then head south, whether go to the existing Grimwade campsite or not, debatable, but somewhere around that way.
I think that both of those two campsites can go and we can pick a new place because really, what's so special about Noggerup? Nothing.
like it.
Grimwade is like just dust blows in all the
No,
time.
I like both those campsites. However, I'm sure you could have equally nice ones elsewhere in the vicinity, but I wouldn't say they're bad.
You could have a new Grimwade campsite near the Fire Watchtower, which is much bigger than the one at Mounts Wells.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
not
cool.
too far away. Yeah, much taller because it's not up high, you know, and it's pretty awesome. It's about the base of it is two times to three times wider than
Wow.
Wells. To give you a bit of an idea. Yeah.
Can we just like heli lift Grimwade?
If Grimwade town site was still there, I'd probably cut through that as well, just for a resupply point as well. But yeah, not essential.
So that was my biggest issue is I hate skipping Bailing Up, but that area from Mumballup to Bailing Up I could easily miss and take it somewhere else, and that's where I'm going to go. So you guys are all going into Bailing Up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of Donnybrook, but the other reason I thought not Donnybrook is the Munda Biddy goes through there, and there's a lot of people who do the Bibbulmun and the Munda Biddy, so it's nice to keep them a bit different.
My main reason for staying through Bailing Up is that I like the track south of Bailing Up.
Yeah, me too.
And for
I like
that
as
reason,
well.
I couldn't leave it. even though I do think it's not a great track town because of facilities.
Bailing Up
Yeah, I don't think it's like, because the pub is tenuously
was burnt down.
It's burnt down. Yeah, but when it was back, it was tenuous, and like even if they rebuild, I question if it could last. Like that's a bit of a problem in that area. It's just business just doesn't seem to last there.
Bailing,
Doesn't bother me. It's
I
got
think
food.
Bailing Up's quite thriving as
Bailing
a
Up.
small community.
the thing about Bailing Up, it's one of those towns where you got the highway passing through, so the businesses just close up after 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So there's not
that's
much
annoying.
happening at night because there's not much traffic.
Yeah.
So that is a bit annoying for the walkers coming in and staying
Yeah.
in town. That's not much open, but you can still make do. I think it's not a disaster. It's
Yeah, I
not,
think Bailing
yeah.
Up's fine, and I think it's
The
like
pie
a really
shop
nice...
is really good.
Also,
But
the pub has it did have
Yeah.
a lot of character.
the thing was, there was this 2-year period where like the hotel was for sale, the pub was tenuously is going to reopen,
I
and
do
then it
remember
burnt
that.
down, and that to me I think has clouded my view of Bailing Up as a town. It's like it's like if everything was equal and everything was open and it was fine, then that would be great. But it just seems like things are erratic there compared to other towns where things are more stable.
Well, what I do, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead a bit, but I was thinking the track. You know how there's the Greenbushes circuit.
Yeah.
What if the track went through Greenbushes, so you'd have another pub day?
Yeah.
So I thought that would be quite good, and I wonder why it doesn't do that.
They've got 2 pubs there.
They do, yeah.
So
And a new lithium mine.
yeah.
Thrilling.
Yeah.
No, there's no mining. It's gone.
Oh yeah. Well then Greenbushes doesn't exist.
we should be at least marginally supportive of the lithium mine, because at least that's renewables.
It's still pretty dirty, and lithium might not
Well,
be.
we should be sort of supportive of the aluminium mines too, because
No.
I'm joking.
Well, I mean, it's better than the coal mine, right? Like lithium
No,
mine
because
should be
we
better than
use
the coal mine.
aluminium in our hiking gear.
Yeah, but that'll come from Queensland. So
Yeah,
so-
exactly.
Oh, okay. Is there bauxite in Queensland?
Everything comes from Queensland. So you guys following from Bailing Up pretty much almost the same route
No.
through past Greenbushes, no?
No, I'd say if possible go through Greenbushes for a bit of history and a bit of novelty value. And then I really love walking up through that farm. I don't particularly like down the road before you get to the farm that you walk through.
Spring Gully.
Yeah.
I
wonder
enjoy
if you
that
could
road
change.
though, because you've got like palm trees on the left, and it feels almost tropical.
Spring Gully Road is kind of, you can see why it goes there because we
Yeah,
don't
it's
have
like-
public right of way.
You have to take it, but if it's a dream Bibbulmun, I'd say if you go through Greenbushes and then walk through the bush for a bit and then just walk through farms. And then I really enjoy that walk up the hill. Last time I did it, I was followed by the cows
Yeah.
and I met the farmer of that farm. He's really nice. Through to Blackwood, I'd like that, and down the big hill through the farm.
So one thing I would say is I would like to replace Blackwood with a hut that's more suitable for seeing the views while also reducing the wind.
But they've already done that. They've put up a perspex screen, which.
So
made
I
a
was
difference.
thinking a real hut there with like a big window,
Yeah, okay.
so that you have like, it's a different experience and
a
you
back
get
country
But this is
hut.
opening
Yeah.
a can of worms because we're saying no budget problems.
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
And so
No, 'cause-
why not make all the huts?
Can you?
along
No,
the
I
luxury
actually
lodges
think
for
that the
free?
shelters are suitable for our climate.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think because that's a particularly windy spot, that would be one where I'd say there's one other spot I'd say a hut as well. But I'm thinking that I think that the shelter design is actually really suitable for our climate and iconic, and I wouldn't replace all of them, just in 2 places.
What's the other one? Ramehead?
We'll get
We'll
to
get
it.
to it.
Yep.
That actually opens up a can of worms, because if you're going to say that, then all along the south coast you may as well be
Yeah.
like, I want ocean views and 4-sided huts.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that. So you guys agree that you wouldn't align it differently?
I would keep it the way it is, if only for that section between effectively Hay Road and Spring Gully Road, because that 6-7 k's, which encompasses part of the Greenbushes loop, is the best in the area for orchids. Always has been. It's just absolutely spectacular. It's the smallest short section I've seen with the most species of orchids. I've counted, I think I'm up to 15 different species just in that little area on one day. So I'd keep it just for that. I love it. Blackwood I love. Let's forgive what's happened in the past.
Yeah.
And also, I can forgive the weather situation there as well. And I feel like that gives... you need a few little idiosyncrasies along the track where it's a little bit rough or a little bit wilder or whatever.
Or conversely, you could have the comfort of a hut.
No, because you're just out of bailing up. You can have comfort of a hut or comfort of a B&B in town.
Well, see, you've got the option now of staying up on Blackwood or staying down at the farm. So I've done that as well. I would still head up to Millstream Dam. I know it's on roads, but I'd still get there whether it's on the road or not.
Millstream Dam's a disappointment because you can't
Why?
go anywhere near it.
But remember, there's no water touching it,
Okay.
right? So you can swim there.
But then why would there be a dam there to start with?
Exactly, yeah.
Because they wouldn't remove the infrastructure.
No, I'd somehow avoid... So I don't like the bridge over the Blackwood. I think, can we put a nice...
Wooden
interesting,
bridge.
wooden bridge
Like
or
what used to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, something nice, not the ugly
The concrete is
monstrosity.
terrible.
One good,
More canoes.
that's not the worst idea. And then there's that sort of that long, tedious section where you're walking on a road, switchbacking up the hill. I just think put in a single track straight up the hill, just make it steep. Everyone's trail fit by then if they've been doing an end to end.
Yeah, see, that would only work if my other caveat of no trail bikes on planet Earth, because the trail bikes would use that, because they do now. I can see tracks going through. You can see from the top, you look down, they just go right through, even through the blackberry.
Yep.
However,
Yeah.
I enjoy once you're past Millstream Dam,
Yeah.
and then you go into a nice single track section through Jarrah Forest, and it's reasonably pleasant.
It's not just Jarrah Forest. It's actually quite a mixed
It is
forest
mixed,
through there,
but
which
the
I quite
mixed
like.
section comes a bit later, and then you get to that interesting section where it is really mixed. And then down through Gregory Brook, I really quite enjoy that, and I love the section from Gregory Brook to Donnelly River. And I don't know if it's just some weird bias I have because it's like suddenly it turns into the Carry and it feels interesting
Yeah.
and momentous. But I just really, really enjoy that section for no logical reason.
I like most of that section, except for it seems very tedious just coming into town. It's like Snake Road. I think it's Snake
I
Road.
don't mind it.
I find
okay.
really tedious. Like I think if it was single track through there, like that would be the only change. But otherwise, I agree. Like I like this day.
So, Mark, you went into Greenbushes?
No. So I've gone into Donnybrook. So I find actually Blackwood to Donnelly River quite tedious. I could take it or leave it. Going in like around Donnelly River I actually quite love. But from Donnybrook I would then head southwest through Boyanup State Forest, past Ironstone Falls Gully and have a campsite around there. And then keep heading through where they want to log at Barrabup and Cambrai.
Yeah, that could be cool.
Because there's some really nice
And
forest around there.
there's also a really, really lovely track down, is it Cambrai Siding and down the Timberline Trail.
Yeah, so I'm heading into Nanup and making Nanup. I know the
If you go
Mundabiddy
down
goes
to
through
the
there as well.
Timberline
Yeah,
Trail,
so I'd
that's
make
a really good walk.
that and then follow the Blackwood. And then from Nanup, I would head through the pine plantations and up around the hills and then try and link back to just north of Donnelly River to then catch the river as you're going
Yeah, that
into
could
the
be
town
really
site.
cool. Yeah.
So you've kind of gone kind of like a diamond shape, but I think just skipping bailing up or basically mumble up to Donnelly River, I would happily take that elsewhere.
I can definitely see how that would work.
I just think on top of the hill just before Gregory Brook, it gets really dry and it's burnt out, and I don't know, it's just not
Oh no,
fantastic
I
walking.
love all that bit.
I've skipped that. I've gone from Millstream out to Ellis Creek. Ellis Creek to the west, the old mill town that used to be there. Following a lot of rough formations, there's heaps through there. And then come back south and east toward Carry Gully. I'd still probably include Carry Gully.
So I thought about trying to take it into Bridgetown as well. I thought that's too
Yeah,
much of a...
I thought of that as
just
well. But
meandering.
yeah.
And
there's so much farmland around there too.
Yeah, so Nanup was my compromise. if
But
was
I
gonna
really
add a
like the
track down.
idea of incorporating the Timberline Trail.
So I think we all agree that it will go to Donnelly River at least.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's a good point to end it, because this has been quite long.
And this
So-
was actually the breakup of the guidebooks, wasn't it? The old
Exactly.
guidebook,
This is
so-
the halfway
Yeah.
point. So yes, we'll call it an end for this episode, and we will continue in the next one as we look at the southern half of the track.
So I hope you guys are free in another 2 weeks to come back.
See you then.
Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with part 2 of the Dream Bibbulmun Track. Thank you for listening.